Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most. Here on the Rundown, 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, it's Taco Tuesday.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat.
Yes, folks, it is Taco Tuesday. Yes, clearly one of my favorite days of the week. Of course, actually, my favorite day of the week is any day ending in a Y, but especially this one because it includes a good food.
Love some tacos. Had some good ones today. And you know, actually, I had a question for you, Craig. How long is Powerade good for if you let it sit around?
Depends. Is that white Powerade?
No, it's red Powerade. So I don't, but it's got all sort of floaty things in it. So I think I'm going to skip it.
Okay, because I was saying if it's white Powerade, then it's kind of outdated.
If
Black
it's white Powerade, it's good forever.
Though is under critical race theory is good forever. Red, I don't know.
This red Powerade's turning into black Powerade. It's good.
There you go. There you go.
Stuff growing in it. Yeah, I think I will not drink that.
Just don't ask it its pronouns.
Oh no, let's stay away from that. That's a live one. Yep.
So today I enjoyed. We actually wound up having tacos for dinner last night, so I wound up having leftovers. So having chicken tacos for lunch today.
I made we had chicken over the weekend, like fajita chicken, and had some left over. So was gonna have it yesterday, saved it for this morning. Made like egg and fajita chicken tacos for breakfast.
Ooh, very nice,
Yeah.
very nice. My daughter made what had to be. It was a slightly spicy guacamole that was just phenomenal, and then also had a nice green salsa that was also excellent with the tacos as well.
You know, you mentioned guac. My daughter loves the guacamole. She wanted a snack last night, so I cut open an avocado and sliced it to give it to her. And she's like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And I'm like, "That's avocado." She's like, "What's that from?" I was like, "That's what you use to make guacamole." She's like, "Well, who would eat it like that? It's so plain. Go do something to it." So I was like, "Here you go. There's a fork with it. That's what I did to it. You can have it or not."
They unfortunately she is still at that stage in life where she thinks food comes already cooked.
Listen, I don't know if I told you this. I think last week she called me from school and wanted to know how to use a can opener because didn't know how to use a can opener because kids of this generation, Craig, everything's a pop top, right? So she had no idea how to use a can opener. I had to FaceTime her and walk her through it.
You know, I will tell you if
True story.
if it weren't for the fact that I know that you have shared with her all of the movie classics that are appropriate, I would say you failed as a father.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of any movies that had opening a can in it. I mean, you know, Popeye just squeezed them open, right? You know, and I can't think of any movies that had cans in them. You know?
There you go. You should have shared Popeye with her.
Yeah, that's it. Squeeze it open like Trump does.
Just squeeze it, baby girl. Just squeeze it. Okay. Well, hey, let's get ready to get into the show. But before we do, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yep, let's say hi to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You bought an AR in the last 5 years from them. We probably got one of their barrels and don't even know it. Now you can buy from them factory direct for your next AR build or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting the good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take California's future today. Make sure you keep your eye on that California 6th congressional race. If you want the best in concealment holsters on the market, get on over to hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get a nice little discount. And if you're looking for some tactical gear, whether you're going indoors, outdoors, hunting, camping, fishing, whatever it may be, you can get everything but the gun at uscombatgear.com.
Hey, I want to remind you folks, those of you who are in Southern California or will be in Southern California on November 3rd, you don't want to miss a formal reception with Dr. Sebastian Gorka, former Donald Trump, President Trump appointee and national radio talk show, syndicated talk show host. You're going to want to be a part of that event. Check out and get all the information at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. A lot of fun will be had at that event. Yours truly will be there. If you want to come on by, say hello. You don't want to miss this event. Check it out.
Would you say that Dr. Gorka is going back to Cali?
He is going back to Cali. You know, it's funny. I see him all the time, and I've said hello to him a couple times. But you know, he's always at SHOT Show. He broadcasts from SHOT when God, he's been there just about every year, I think, over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yep. Yeah, he sits down a couple tables from us, and he's always like, "What's with that crowd over there by those guys?" You know, well,
we have it like that. We actually, it's kind of funny because we do more content than any, and we have been told this by the folks who do media there at SHOT. We do more interviews and push out more content than any other of the folks who broadcast from there.
High quality content. High quality. We voted 3 years in a row best radio talk show at SHOT Show.
There you go. See, and y'all get it. Y'all get it. Y'all are here. Tell your friends about us.
That's it. Tell them we said, hey.
Hi. All right, let's get into today's program. I know you guys are probably getting sick and tired of talking about what's going on over there in Israel, but I think this story is a little bit more about how it's being treated here in the United States. And this was one that I had to say something about because it is literally driving me nuts, because this is a person who is an elected representative here in the United States. And quite frankly, in my opinion, should be everything that she is doing is determining that she is clearly not fit for public service. Rashida Tlaib, who is a congresswoman out of Michigan, comes from a district that has a very, very high Muslim population. She is still claiming that she still says she doubts Israel's claim about the hospital explosion and calls for an independent investigation. Now, you might recall, and I'm sure you do because we've talked about this a number of times. There was over the weekend, last weekend, there was a rocket hit a hospital. Or was it the weekend before last? Anyway, a rocket hit a hospital. Immediately, Hamas said there were 500 people dead, and they blamed the Israelis. Come to find out, it wasn't the Israelis. It was the Islamic Jihad, which, by the way, is a Muslim terrorist group, and that was shooting rockets into Israel, and one of them went wayward and landed and hit the parking lot in the hospital and killed about 50 people. Well, she is now saying and by the way, she is, even though this has all been liberal media, conservative media, worldwide media has acknowledged that this is in fact the case. Well, now she's coming out and she's saying, well, I don't believe them. It says here in an official statement released Monday, Tlaib said that media outlets and third-party analysts have been raising doubts about Israel's presented evidence that the errant Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket hit a hospital's parking lot in Gaza, which possibly killed 50 people, not the 500 initially reported. Media outlets and third-party analysts have raised doubts about the claims and evidence offered by both Israel and Gaza Ministry of Health, and I agree with the United Nations that an independent investigation is necessary, she wrote. Continuing, and this is the part that pisses me off, I cannot uncritically accept Israel's denials of responsibility as fact, especially in light of confirmation from the World Health Organization that Israel has bombed numerous medical facilities in Gaza, and reports that the Palestinian Red Crescent Society of ongoing threats from Israeli military to evacuate hospitals. Now, what she's referring to, these evacuations, by the way, just to be clear, I looked through this is the WHO's website. I looked through their website to see if I could find any reports of actual bombings of hospitals. There were none. Mike, what they've done here is and the World Health Organization is criticizing them for issuing these evacuations, saying you need to evacuate these hospitals. Now, you and I know the reason why they're doing that is because the terrorists are hiding bombs, they're hiding rockets, and they're hiding soldiers underneath or in these hospitals. In other words, they're using these people as human shields. The Israelis are trying to say, we need to take out these terrorists. You need to get out of the way. And she is claiming that, well, this is evidence that they're bombing hospitals.
Yeah, they're hiding terrorists, not soldiers. There are no soldiers there.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
Craig, it originally reported as 500, and there's now it's been further evaluated as 50 people killed, which tells me, Craig, that 3 Toyota Corollas and 9 goats also were destroyed, because it's about 50 people is what they fit in 3 Toyota Corollas over there. It's amazing. You have to go. Listen, if you ever been to that part of the country, you know what I'm talking about. They make a clown car look stupid with the amount of people they can stick in a Toyota Corolla. This woman is clearly an idiot, right? And she's clearly a racist. She's clearly a hater, and all she's trying to do is continue to front her lies to try and get influence over Israelis and Jewish people. That's all it is. She's an absolute bigot, and she needs to be removed from Congress.
Understand, she continues to defend Hamas, and Hamas exists for one reason: to kill all Jews. Hezbollah exists for one reason: to kill all Jews. Yeah. They do not exist to protect or defend the Palestinian people. And also, to be clear, and this is, and I understand there are plenty of innocent Palestinian people, but not all of the Palestinian people are innocent. Many of them participated in raiding of after the massacre took place, there were other Palestinians, civilian. They're all civilians, because there's the ones, some are terrorists, some are, I guess you call it thieves, because they went and they raided and they basically looted these people's homes and businesses after they were massacred. And many of them, by the way, were also out in the streets in the Gaza Strip, cheering Allahu Akbar and cheering the death of the Israelis.
Yeah, absolutely right. Again, they're either terrorists or terrorist supporters. I'm sorry, that's about it. Are there innocents there? No, not if they're out in the streets singing Aloha Snack Bar. They're not.
It's Aloha Snack Bar, but no. I mean, and this is the thing, folks, is if whatever you're feeling about the situation in the Gaza Strip or in Palestine, here's the reality. The reality is that 1,500 civilians were slaughtered. Well, overwhelmingly number of them were civilians. I don't know exactly how many were civilians, how many were soldiers, but included many. In fact, I feel very comfortable saying a majority of them were civilians. Many of them were children. Many of them were youths. Many of them were babies. And many were burned alive. Many were decapitated. That is not an act of war. That is an act of barbarism, an act of terrorism. And if you support an organization who does that, you are a terrorist supporter.
Yeah, 100% agree. And that's what she is. She's a terrorist supporter. And she's, again, she's lying about the facts. She is trying to get you to come to conclusions that you normally wouldn't, because she's polluting the facts. She needs to be removed from Congress. And listen, they need to find a charge and put it on her, because I'm sure she's committing some sort of crime against Congress up there.
Yeah, once again, and here's the thing: if her voters don't remove her, then that says something about her voters. It really does. Now,
Yeah, well, like you said though, she may live in one of those formerly nice Detroit areas, abandoned and then filled by Muslims because it was the land was empty. Where do the Muslims do that? Huh? And you know, and they may you know, continue to vote for her because she's lying to them and promising them the world as well.
well, and there are several communities, areas in Detroit that look like bombed out Gaza Strip. Although now, does the Gaza Strip now look more like Detroit, or did Detroit already look like the Gaza Strip?
I think Gaza's shooting for looking like Detroit. They're working their way towards it.
There you go. There you go. That actually sounds about right. But folks, then on top of it, you've got on top of all that, you've got folks like, oh, I don't know, former President Barack Obama, who's decided that rather than come out and be very, very clear. I mean, first of all, let's just be honest. If you are out here preaching restraint and you are trying to tell and you are trying to tell the Israeli people you need to be restrained. Like, I'm very frustrated with every time Joe Biden says something about Israel has a right to defend itself. Then he comes out and talks about how important it is to be restrained, as if Americans not, if Democrats don't tell the Israelis to be restrained, they won't be restrained, folks. And that, by the way, leads me to our former president Barack Obama coming out and warning Israeli actions may cause actually a backfire. And it's even worse than that. What he's saying is some of Israel's actions in war against Hamas, like cutting off food and water for Gaza, could harden Palestinian attitudes for generations and weaken international support for Israel, former U.S. President Barack Obama said Monday. In rare comments, no, they're only rare because Biden is president. They were not rare at all when Donald Trump was president. So anyway, in rare comments on active foreign policy crisis, oh, now I know why they were rare, because we didn't have foreign policy crises when Trump was president. Obama said any Israeli military strategy that ignores the human cost of war could ultimately backfire. Now, I've heard this term, the human cost of war, or the rules of war. I keep hearing these talking points that are clearly coming out of the liberal establishment, and I keep wondering. I'm like, have they not been paying attention to how Israel has handled the Palestinians, or handled Hamas, how they've handled Hezbollah, and the immense amount of restraint that they have shown? Imagine any other country, if this had happened, how much restraint do you think they would show going into that territory in order to end their enemies?
None. Listen, and let's be clear. The only reason the Israelis have not swept through Gaza and killed everyone is because of the U.S. involvement. Because we have said we don't want you to start things that are going to go outside your border. If you do, because we think that may happen, because we got this crystal ball, evidently, we're going to pull away our military and pull away our military supplies for you. But Craig, I got to say, when the story popped up, I thought, well, this is nice. It's good to see that Kenya is getting involved in the Israel discussion as well. Not just the United States. So, yeah.
Mike, I'll tell you what really gets me is, first of all, I'll disagree with you on one aspect. I think that you're right, they would have gone in by now if it weren't for U.S. involvement. But I still believe, and I think you would agree with, I still believe they would have still shown tremendous restraint because they have. I mean, the idea of rockets being launched into Israel is not a new thing. This has been something that they have dealt with for years, that they have put up with for years, and have not done what I think, once again, many nations would have done a long time ago to make sure that to put an end to this. But like I said, they send warnings, letting people know that they're about to bomb, or letting them know to evacuate. when they shut off water in the north and blockaded new food, they opened it up in the south because they wanted to, once again, to get the civilians out of there. And I find it interesting. They referred to them as captive civilians, right? But they don't note who they're captivated by. They just note, oh, the Gaza Strip. They don't note that if they are captive, they're not being held captive by the Israelis. They're being held captive by Hamas.
It's amazing, Craig. It's not just Hamas, first off, and you said they've been restraint. They've shown restraint because they have. Well, it's because they have to. Because if they don't, then they have the rest of the world looking down on them, going, "Oh, you can't actually do war like war's supposed to be done." Listen, Israel's surrounded by Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, right? 4 Muslim countries. If those 4 countries, which by the way are good friends of places like Iran, right? Decided they were going to come in. Well, there's your avenues of approach to come into Israel and get into the fight. So that's why Israel doesn't go all out total war against them, because they know they're surrounded on all sides by Muslim countries or the Mediterranean. Now, as far as Hamas and these citizens, these Hamas citizens being captured or captive, Craig, they're being held hostage by, are you ready for this? Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, because they have all closed their borders and are not allowing the Palestinians to come into their own lands. Again, the Palestinian peoples are considered the lowest class of the Muslim world, and their bordering countries will not even take in their refugees. So they're a captive of Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, not of Israel.
And to be clear, part of the reason why they will not let them in is because they saw, Lebanon used to be a predominantly Christian / secular nation. And when they went, when they allowed Palestinian refugees in, when they allowed the Palestinians in, that was when you started to see the sort of terrorism and barbarism. All of a sudden, they let the Islamists take over, and now it is it is what it is now. It is a Muslim country that is.
It's Detroit.
That's Detroit. Basically, it's now Detroit. Worse than Detroit, but they know and they recognize. They know it. That's why Jordan is like, nope, not letting you in here because you're going to try and overthrow our government. Same thing with Egypt. They don't want the trouble. They just don't want the trouble. And you blame Israel because Israel won't take them in. Let's just be real. 20% of the population of Israel are Muslims, are Palestinian Arabs, right? 20% of the population. Look at all of the countries surrounding them, and let me ask you, what percentage of any of those countries are Jewish? I'll tell you what percentage. All put together, 0.00%.
Zero.
Right. Anyway, so that's just once again something to note. For the folks who are supposedly engaging in genocide, the Israelis are doing a very poor job of it, seeing as how 20% of their population is Palestinian Arabs. With the right to
and
vote.
living in one area behind a wall, it wouldn't be that hard,
Right.
Just fill it with seawater,
Okay. On that note, all right, Dave Chappelle is once again in hot water. Well, not hot water. He's being criticized. Chappelle ain't in no hot water because Dave Chappelle is going to do what Dave Chappelle is going to do. Doesn't matter whether you like it or not, whether you agree with him or not. Dude's a comedian. He's going to do what he wants. But he was defending, and an audience took umbrage with the fact that he was defending pro-Hamas demonstrators. Here, and this is according to Fox News, it says audience walks out on Dave Chappelle after he criticizes Israel during show in Boston. Boston reports. Now, I don't know exactly what the criticism was. Let's read on. Members of an audience at a Dave Chappelle show on Thursday reportedly walked out after he criticized Israel's bombing of Gaza and said students supporting Palestinians shouldn't be losing jobs over it. The Wall Street Journal, citing attendees, first some in the audience shouted "Free Palestine" in support of Chappelle's comments, while others yelled, "What about Hamas?" before some audience members walked out. The back and forth with the audience occurred after Chappelle declared students shouldn't be losing their jobs for supporting Palestinians, according to reports. A member of the audience reportedly shouted, "Shut up," after his statement, which prompted more statements from him about Israel. The comedian also condemned Hamas's attack against Israel, according to the Wall Street Journal, but accused the U.S. of aiding the murder of innocent civilians. 3 students who attended the event, who attended either Harvard or Columbia, were denied jobs from top law firm after they signed a letter supporting Hamas. All right, so let's kind of break this whole thing down here a little bit. So the first thing I'll say about this one, Mike, is he's a comedian. So I will say this, and this is regarding to any political statement, whether I agree with it or not. Because I do not understand the context and have not heard it in and of itself, I don't know if it was funny or not. And I think that's the first thing, because he's a comedian, that you're supposed to judge these things based on. Am I correct?
So far, so good.
All right. So far, so good. I think that reasonable people can disagree whether or not students should or should lose their jobs or job offers because of their position relating to Hamas. And you know who I think gets to make that decision? The person who's doing the hiring. So Dave Chappelle, if he were hiring, they wouldn't lose their jobs. But guess what? The law firm that was going to hire them decided not to hire them. And guess what? That's their choice.
Yeah. So Dave Chappelle got up there exercising his First Amendment rights as an entertainer, right? Was defending the First Amendment rights of those demonstrating for pro-Palestine or pro-Hamas. He was defending their rights. Craig said, "This is they're protesting," and he said. Then he talked about them losing their jobs. He said, "Should they be losing their jobs?" And this is where it started to go before it went off the rails. Now, we know Dave Chappelle, when he exercises his First Amendment rights, he's rich, bitch, right? So he's not worried about getting a job, right? The point he was making was, you can exercise your First Amendment rights, but there's repercussions for that. Okay. You don't get to walk around and say hateful and mean things and not have them held against you later. And that's what happened to these students. They stood out and exercised their First Amendment rights, and they didn't get jobs. And he said, "You're to blame. You're the one to blame. Should they be losing their jobs? Listen,
well, no,
you're not working at my law firm if you're out there telling everybody how you want to kill Jews. I'm sorry."
Well, okay. So the only thing I'll disagree with you on is it sounded like he was defending the students, saying they shouldn't have lost their jobs.
And now there's no clip of this, right? And I've read this in a couple of different places. It was him talking about their right to defend themselves, or the right to speak how they want,
right?
And then it was, should they lose their jobs? Should they lose their jobs? And that's when he never got to finish where he was going because of the interruption.
Okay. Well, and there you go. So that's why I'm like, first of all, folks, comedians commenting on political issues. How about this? How about we let them finish the joke?
Yeah.
Let them.
And he goes back to it. Listen, his First Amendment right is to say what he wants. When he's controversial, he makes money. If you're a citizen and you go out there and you throw some controversial stuff out, you gotta face the repercussions. And that's what these people did.
Well, exactly. And that's, once again, these are folks who are they're supposed they go to Harvard, which is supposedly, and they're going to work for a law firm. So these are supposedly law students. They're about to graduate because they've got job offers. So they should have a better understanding of the ramifications of running your mouth, in particular, publicly running your mouth on an issue that is very public. I'll tell you right now, I a long time ago, I made the decision that, you know what? I'm sorry. I engage in political commentary, and I do so publicly. And every job I've had, that's always been kind of very clear. And I've always, if I worked for someone else, I've always distinguished, this is my opinion versus their opinion. But having said that, I also recognize that, you know what, if what I have to say and my opinion makes it so that you have a problem, it affects my employer negatively, they have a right to let me go.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I'll say this too, Craig, just so everybody's clear on, well, as clear as I am on Dave Chappelle's position. He also came out and said he supports the right of Israel to defend themselves as well. So
Yes.
he's not coming down on one side or the other. He was doing what he does, and then talks about both sides of an issue, and grabs the laughs wherever he can.
Well, exactly. And but here's the thing, Mike. People don't want to look at, or they don't want you to even mention that there may be some legitimacy on the other side of the issue. And I'll give you an example. There are, I think, like I said, I believe that you can support the Palestinian people and still be condemn what Hamas did. I'm not one of those people. Because I believe that in some cases, I believe many Palestinians celebrated what they did, celebrated what Hamas did. And
Absolutely.
I don't see how you can celebrate it and still be, I'd say you can celebrate what they did and still be worthy of consideration.
Yep. Absolutely right.
I just don't. And call
No,
me wrong, call me crazy.
Nope.
Anyway, but Chappelle is a comedian, first and foremost. And I honestly believe that some of the positions that I don't even think he takes positions. I really do think his goal is the punchline. That's it.
Yeah.
His goal is the punchline, regardless of where he stands on the issues. He just wants to crack jokes.
That's it. Observational humor that he'll find the humor in.
Right. And you get mad at the dude for doing his job.
Yeah.
And I'll say this.
Yep.
He's also much better at it than most people who talk about these issues. Because a lot of, in particular, liberal politicians, they just tend to be mean and bitter. What I like about him is he almost always has a punchline. Sometimes I kind of cringe because I don't agree with the punchline, but it's funny.
It's true. That's what he does. That's why he's number one.
There you go. Speaking of comedy, bringing a hammer to a gunfight. This falls in the only in California and maybe in New York. This being reported by Breitbart, alleged hammer-wielding robber targets gun store, gets shot dead. An alleged hammer-wielding robber was shot and killed Sunday afternoon around 2:30 p.m. as he reportedly tried to rob a gun store, and the store owner opened fire. KTVU reported the incident occurred at East Bay Firearms. Okay, that's a East Bay Firearms in Livermore, in Livermore, California. The 28-year-old alleged robber came into the store wearing a mask, gloves, and a hooded sweatshirt pulled over his head. The Livermore Police Department observed that the alleged robber then attempted to rob the gun store by taking a firearm while armed with a hammer. NBC Bay Area noted the store owner then fired 2 rounds, at least one of which struck the suspect, who died at the scene. Police view the store owner's actions as self-defense. Well, duh.
You know, Craig, I'm just taking a look at the map here to see where Livermore is. And I can tell you it's just far enough away from San Jose and San Francisco that it's probably a very conservative area.
No, actually, Livermore probably. So it's in Alameda County, which has a very, very liberal district attorney. The sheriff there is a little different. It's a place that's very hard to get a concealed carry permit. In fact, there is no place, and like right now, there's a lawsuit right now because there's no place in unincorporated Alameda County where you can open a new gun store. So if a gun store closes, they can't open a new gun store because of the zoning requirements and everything there.
Gotcha. See, I've just taken a look at the map, and it looks like it's just far enough away from those two places that it's where the conservatives would flee to.
There you go. Okay.
That was, yeah.
It is part of the Bay Area where you will find conservative pockets.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
So
yeah, don't bring a hammer to a gunfight. Yeah, this guy's just. It sounds like this guy was looking for the big exit. He wanted to take the long dirt nap. and
Well,
decided to
anybody who's ever
do
spent
it.
any time at a gun store knows that at least one person there at the gun store generally will have a firearm on their hip. At least. If not, everybody working there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we used to have a buzzer on our door at the gun shop, and it always stayed open. And it wasn't until somebody would try something stupid, and then we'd hit the buzzer and lock the door.
Bang.
And they would go. They get that look on their face like, holy crap, these guys just locked me in here with them. Like, yeah. Come on. Come on, keep going. Keep going, buddy. Keep going. Start your nonsense.
That's not a good thing, folks. That's not a place. That's definitely not a place, a situation you want to be in.
No. Nope.
All right, folks. Well, hey, that is going to bring us to our parting shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get a discount on your Hog Holster today. Well, speaking of the gun store, I figured this was one Mike made sure that we had to share with you. There's always the ongoing debate. Is it 40 cal? Is it 45 ACP? Is it 9mm? Well, contrary to belief, 45 ACP cannot penetrate a tank.
Yeah, listen, we say it's the all-powerful round, and clearly it's not. It was only able to put about, 8-inch cavities inside this tank, so clearly the 45 is not enough to penetrate the tank.
Clearly not enough, but wow.
Yeah.
That is scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is definitely scary. All right, also reporting for today, representing today's news, this one, I love this one. It says, burn, baby, burn. You got Rashida Tlaib burning the Israeli flag. Is that a puppet? Yes, that is a puppet. She's got the arm of Hamas Disinformation sticking up her skirt.
Whoa, easy family show.
Oh, and then finally, talking about disinformation, we're clearly spreading disinformation beyond the borders of the planet. Says here, you got a couple of aliens. Says the subject is a male human. Who is that? Is that Dylan Mulvaney?
I think that
What
is.
does Dylan Mulvaney have to say about this one?
Said, excuse me, but I identify as a female.
Subject is a retarded male human.
Hey, can we talk for a moment, Craig, about our government has said that aliens exist? I mean, talk about the last desperate act of diversion. All right, we always talk about what's the real story out there. They're so embedded in how horribly Joe Biden is doing that they're pulled out the whole aliens are real. And you know what America's response was? Yeah. Well, look at the price of milk, jackwagon. Let's talk about that first.
Well, that's not the only thing that they're making up. I mean, let's be honest. They're claiming that men can have babies, women have bonus holes, and then they're just making up words. When you're playing Scrabble and you start making up words, what is that word that they have made up here?
Transgender.
That pretty much sums it all up.
Yep.
All right, folks. Well, it is about that time. But before we go, it's time to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels available in any length you need for your next AR rifle or pistol build. Check them out at hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Again, don't forget the California 6th congressional race. And if you want to get your tactical on, whether you're going indoors, outdoors, going to the range, going hunting, whatever it happens to be, you can get everything but the gun at uscombatgear.com.
All right, folks. Well, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on a hump day. Till then, y'all stay frosty.